Hello and welcome to Real Estate Today. I'm your host, Laura Harbison, broker-owner of Realty Executive Southern Nevada Properties. And today I'm here with Matt Hennessey of Benchmark Mortgage. Hello.
Hello there.
And we're going to talk to you about credit myths. You know, we want to talk about repair versus consolidation and monitoring.
Great topic. Yeah, when I think of credit, it's really important for the average consumer to pick up on is that just like we think that the amount of money I have in my bank account helps me, show the net worth that I might have. But more importantly is the credit that somebody might have. For example, your credit score impacts, car loans, the interest rate you receive there, credit cards, obviously mortgage loans, the terms you receive. Some might not know that it impacts your home insurance, your car insurance. So when we think about credit, it's always important just to really dial in what is the most optimum position for the consumer to improve their credit scores and, of course, the terms they receive. So some of those tips are maybe the myths we probably should talk about today.
Yeah, well, I have people all the time that when I say, well, what's your credit score, that type of thing, and they don't know, and they're afraid to look, and they think that looking at their credit is going to hurt their credit.
Yeah, we hear that quite often. So, today we have so much technology the consumer has access to, right? You have your credit cards will tell you, maybe even your bank statement might tell you every once in a while, like, hey, your credit score is this.
Yeah.
Not super accurate, but it's a good range for you to kind of play within. So anytime a consumer can access and review their own credit scores, like freecreditreport.com, it gives them an idea what their credit scores are today. And we would rather have that information up front so that when they look at their credit, it's not a hard inquiry. So when we think about credit inquiries that impact someone's credit scores, a soft inquiry really means you as a consumer looking at it yourself. Here's what my scores might be in this range. Here's some pros and cons to my credit profile versus that of a hard inquiry. So maybe keeping it simple. We would tell a consumer, you could look at your consumer version first. Here's where I think I am. And when you're really ready to purchase a property or want to have that conversation of where should I go, at that point in time, the lender will access a tri-merged copy of your credit report, a hard inquiry. But what is the impact? Maybe 3 to 6 percentage points. So in the bigger scheme of things, it's not much. It's a necessity during the process whenever you're buying a property.
Very good. Now, I've had people tell me that, oh, my credit must be good. They're carrying balances on credit cards and they're, like I always make my payment, their minimum payment.
Sure. Yeah, we have that talk from time to time of I have a balance. So, they're showing that I'm using my credit.
Mm-hmm.
If I go back to, when I was a freshman at UNLV, I don't know if you remember, like walking across campus, they would have offered you like a shirt and maybe even a soda. You'd like pop and go, hey, you can get a credit card. At that point in time,
I got a few.
It was a little different back then, meaning they used to judge you by way of, oh, Matt, you have 5 or 10 credit cards. You could be higher risk. In today's times, all they're really focusing on is how much credit were you given? More importantly, how much of that are you using? So ideally, having a balance is fine, but keep in mind, we always want to keep you below 30% of the available credit limit at all times. You start charging that a little higher than 30%, your credit scores start dropping. So some folks might say, Matt, I bought that fridge and I maxed out that credit card, so I'm still fine. That is one item that we could do to improve your credit scores by paying down that balance below 30% so that you show that you're not very risky.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and a lot of people, and I've heard 50%, but it's 30%.
30% is ideal. And if I want to be the optimum, literally the best in the country, I want to be below 10%. But we try to
total credit usage.
Correct. So if I have, a credit card of $1,000, I want to stay below $300 in that credit card.
Okay. So what about the guy who's got 15 accounts? Should he close 12 of them?
Yeah, it's a great question. One of our biggest fears in our industry is that if somebody was to come to us and say, hey, Matt, I'm thinking about buying a property, and guess what? I've already closed all my accounts. Keep in mind is that, again, if I look at someone's profile, could be installment loans, could be revolving credit cards, maybe even a mortgage or a car, whatever it may be. If I start closing those, that takes away the history that generates my credit score. So if I've had several accounts that I maybe don't use, like a Sears or a Discover, but I just had them for a long time, the minute I close them, that availability for the credit score that actually keeps like this little algorithm that generates your score is impacted negatively. So don't close anything without the advice of a mortgage professional.
Okay, so they should not do anything until they talk to you. This is a total totally a side note, because I've had some of my clients ask me if they should add their teenager or their young adult child to their existing credit card.
Now, full disclosures, you helped me with my daughter buying a place in Arizona. Mm-hmm. And when I did so, I knew early in the process, because obviously I'm in the industry as long as you have been, and it's always about how do I help my family out. So our true story was early on, I added them as an authorized user on my credit cards. We only had 2 or 3 credit cards. We don't rack them up or go above 30%. Mm-hmm. But as a 16, 17, 18-year-old, I needed to establish credit. So added them on as an authorized user, mm-hmm. they now have my credit scores and my credit profile. So her credit scores, my daughter that is, jumped up from no experience at all in the
from being a goat
to that of 800 credit score. So it's very wise. Now, I do have to have an exit strategy to get them off down the road, but it generates the opportunity for her to have credit, and on her own, she can get her own credit card down the road. So it's just in her name, and then we could eventually get her off of ours.
Right, exactly. Okay, so that is a way to help young adults who don't
absolutely
get them a little bit of a kick. So, okay, so people talk about repairing their credit. They talk about debt consolidation. There's these companies that want to put everything together. I mean, what? Yeah, there's that.
There's 2 different clients that come to you and me, and maybe 2 specific conversations we'll have. One is the individual that has to buy today. They just got a divorce. I just moved to town. My landlord's selling the place. They have no time to plan. They literally need to buy a house now. So at that point in time, I'm stuck with the credit they have, and there's no time to improve upon that. Versus that of the person says, I'm going to buy in 30, 60 days. We review the credit and give them guidance. Mm-hmm. At that point, if there's room for improvement, we would give them guidance themselves and say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, in a review of this, just simple things. You need to pay your balances down a little bit. You could work with a creditor who had a late payment, maybe to try to get that removed. Mm-hmm. Simple things that I personally, over the last 25 years, want my clients to do on their own before going to credit repair.
Before they spend money.
Yeah, if they have the time and the ability to do so, do it on your own. Now, if they don't, we will introduce them to a credit repair company who's going to do that on their behalf. Now, the latter, which is probably the most scary thing that I hear about all the time, if somebody says, "Man, I'm in debt consolidation," those that have heard about this and say, "Hey, well, take your 10 credit cards and literally consolidate them to one payment." It sounds great in theory, but just think about this for a moment. If I have 10 credit cards and I owe, $1,000 in each of them, and I'm struggling with those payments, and I want them all consolidated. Basically, you go to a credit, debt consolidation company. They're going to work with those creditors. But remember, the only way they're going to reduce those balances to benefit you in the future is by making you late on those payments to get their attention. So those credit cards that you provide to them to say, hey, negotiate those balances lower, unfortunately, you're going to find is they're going to be late 30, 60, 90 days. And in the end, they'll work with you and negotiate to your balances lower. So you do benefit. But in the short term, you're going to struggle buying.
You tilted your credit.
Absolutely. Your credit score is going to be impacted. So be very careful when you're looking at that and really think through that when you're thinking about debt consolidation.
Good. And then I know there's a lot of services out there that'll help you monitor your credit. People are worried about identity theft and credit card theft. And my brother-in-law had, somebody, he still had his credit card, but somebody was using his credit information. So
you have your Credit Karma, you have these little services you could pay for. Mm-hmm. They're fantastic. Right, there you go. Anything to monitor them. Don't put so much effort into thinking that the credit scores that they might provide to you as a consumer are the exact as a mortgage company, because it's a little different as they evaluate credit. But it's important for us to realize it's just a good way for you to pick up on alerts, anything that happened to your account, so that you're a little bit safe going forward.
Okay. Yeah, before something gets out of hand. So you've talked a little bit about things that can improve your credit, like bringing your balances under 30% on your credit card and things like that. Are there other things that people can do? Just they're not looking at buying a house right now or anything, but they just want to
great question.
Protect their credit.
I'm a big fan of whether there's no obligation to buy something today or in the future, but just get in a ready position. That could be keeping your balances below 30%. Don't apply for credit when you don't need to. Just I want to save 10% when I go to the store. Try not to open additional accounts, because those inquiries will pull your scores down. And the real hot topic today is those of layaway plans. Way back in the day when you bought something, you could pay in installments. It's back, and it's a big way. We have some clients that have a lot of layaway credit that shows up. Several accounts that they open, credit scores start impacted negatively because they open them over and over and over. So those are the things I would say to start to stay away from.
Okay. So literally, what's the biggest mistake that people make?
Biggest mistake. I'd like to say trying to do something on their own without speaking to a professional first. Because
guessing at it.
Yeah, you can't guess at it.
Yeah,
talk to a professional. They'll tell you can do this or that to improve things, but have the advice up front before you do anything on your own.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And it's easy to get that advice.
Absolutely. Phone call away.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have questions about this or would like more information, you can see our contact information below. Give us a call, give us an email. You can see we've got our little QR code on there because we've gotten fancy. So you can scan that with your smartphone. Right. And get right to us, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time on Real Estate Today.